Hey guys, it's the Pale Ork here, and today we are doing a sit and talk with the Pale Ork, and we're touching on Orks in 9th edition. Specifically, we're going to be touching on the recent video that dropped, alluding to some new releases that will be coming out with the Ork Codex when it finally does drop. And I'm also going to be combining that with what was going to be a predictions video and stuff that I want to see coming in the new Codex in the near future, hopefully in the next couple of months. So we'll see when it finally does get here, but hopefully it's in the next couple of months. If you like the video, if you don't like the video, let me know in the comments. If you want to support the channel, you can go on to Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon and throw me some money. I don't care. It's going towards buying equipment, buying more kits that I can do kit bashes with and make content with. So, yeah. Let's get into the video. So the first thing we're going to touch on is the video that dropped just the other day. I'm going to watch it through with you guys, and then I'm going to look closer at the stills that I've taken of the stuff that was featured on there, and we'll break it down a little bit and see, we'll unpack it and see what was there to watch. So let's check this out.
Right, boys, listen up. In the beginning, Gork and Mork needed some fighty lads. So they did some stuff, and their orcs appeared. Some of them were runts, but there was lots of boys too. Some of them were big, and some of them were weird, but they was all mean and green. Except the red ones. And the biggest and greenest get around is the big boss, and we's gotta listen to him, cause he's taking us on the great war. That's where all the best fighting is. We's gonna use all the shiny new trucks and shooters to crump down you war. We don't need that junk. Shut up, you git. As I was saying, the other lads have their shinies and their know-whats, but they don't know how to use them proper. Not like us. We's got our stickers and our squigs. We's gonna drag them down and crump them good, with hands and teeth and all that fancy truck gubbins. That's why we're the biggest and we're the strongest in any clan we're in. Saddle up, beast snaggers. The war's coming!
Man, that's so cool. That's so good. So what we're going to touch on here is we have in this one, I've got some stills that I took of the video, and I want to unpack a little bit of what we see, because there is some stuff to look at, and some of it is really exciting, others is like, I hope they do it, but we don't know. We don't know with GW. They have been leaning in their artwork, are leaning a lot more towards stuff that's actually going to be released. So I don't think anything in here is by accident. I think it's all deliberate. So I'm hopeful that we're going to be seeing quite a few new things coming out in the Ork range when it finally does drop. One of the things that I want to talk on in this specific still is in the background we have a truck that does not look like the standard truck. So looking back to the video, it actually mentions the new truck and new shiny shooters. We do see a new version of a truck in the background here, and we are seeing new shooters here as well. Now, I don't know, because we do see a little bit further back a guy with the plasma or custom on his shoulder that does allude very much to a looter. So this one here may specifically be another version of the looter. They might have redone the kit finally. It's been a long time coming. That one's been so outdated. So it would be good to see new looters, but if it's not a looter, this could be another heavy weapon option for a boy, which would, again, support the new boys kit that everyone keeps saying, yeah, we want it, yeah, we don't. But yeah, adding a different version of a heavy weapon, I see it. So if it is a different version of a heavy weapon, I see this being a mid-range. If it's not a def gun, I see it being the mid-range between a big shooter and a def gun. So it might be like a strength 6 4 shots, straight AP 1 or 2, damage 1 or 2. Something different. Off a little, like, very similar to the other stuff, but still different enough. Then we have the Squigs. I was really excited to see these on this video. The Squig support for this leans heavily towards the snakebite stuff, but the Squigs being talked about like this by themselves is making me really hopeful that they're going to introduce Squigs into 40k as a unit that we can take. And I'd love that. I would absolutely love that. I'm not sure how useful they would be, whether or not they could hold objectives or otherwise. I doubt they'd be able to perform actions, but yeah, Squigs are just cool, and I'd like to be... And it would allow for some Age of Sigmar stuff to be translate over, and looking into some of the next couple of images, it's going to be more stuff that it's probably going to translate over as well in the future. Demons do it. I don't know why Orks can't too, or the Orks. Whether we have stuff that translates over directly, or stuff that just the models can be counts as in 40k as well. Again, I'm not sure whether or not it's actually going to happen, but it'd be cool if it did. One of this guy, big hench, he's obviously mega armored. He's got the same cage around the head. He's got the excessive plate armor everywhere, but he's holding a big chopper. So I'm not sure whether or not this is alluding to just a different kind of mega armored war boss, or mega armored guys being able to hold alternate weapons to just saws and claws. Because the shooter Gretchen mounted on top, it's alluding to some, I think it's third-party stuff, did that, and now GW have just like ran with it, which is power to them. They can do that. It's their stuff. But this does look very similar to, there was a storied, cannot for the life of me remember what it was called. There was a Bad Moon character in one of the novels that looked very similar to this, except he had looted Centurion armor. Again, don't know if it could be that guy, but it does look like a mega armored boss. Alternatively, just a mega armored knob with a big chopper instead of so it could be like an alternate chopper. Might even be a better big chopper. Going on to the Bone Boss, as everyone seems to affectionately be naming him. Again, this leans very much towards a war boss. Gives us an alternative kit. It hasn't got a huge amount of guns or like kit, but this is very much based around the beast snaggers or whatever they're called. So he's probably just going to be the beast snagger specific boss. You can see the Squig shooter on the Squig finder on the top. He's got the sword with the bones, which may or may not be one of the images that was leaked through rumor mill, and then the skull on the other hand that could probably be a fist or something. Yeah, there's a couple of things that are leaning towards this being stuff that was through the rumor mill. But I'm so keen to see what this model looks like when it's actually done, because a lot of people have been using the Ork one with the dragon skull or whatever it is on his shoulder, and this would just be another very cool version of that. And you could always ork it up. You could always add more 40k stuff to it, bits and gubbins, and tech it up more after the fact. But as a feral orc style boss, this is gonna look sick. One of the other couple of things here that I'm super excited about, you can see on this guy with his claw, it's very, very, it's hard to tell being this cave drawing, which I love. I love how they've done the reveal here. But with that claw specifically, it looks very much, again, it was rumored that there was going to be the fist holding the claws coming out. I think it's going to be very similar to the Snagger Grapple that is on the Deathkiller Wartrike. I don't know if it's going to function exactly like that, but it's probably going to be pretty close. And then they're riding what have been titled as the Squig Hogs, which are more of a 40k version of the Boar Boys. I'm so happy that they didn't just do Boar Boys. That would have been terrible if they did. A lot of people are arguing over whether or not this snake bites or whatever. they're Squig Hogs. They're the army is going to have its own sub clan thing. So like Speed Freaks, the speed mob have with the buggies and stuff. That's obviously what this is going to be with the beast snaggers or whatever they're called. So yeah, they're gonna have their own specific stuff, but they're gonna be able to have them in any clan. But it very much leans to the aesthetic of feral orcs and or snake bites. So I don't know whether or not they might have some support, some more rule support with stratagems and stuff if they're snake bites specifically, like if they're in a snake bite clan specifically. But regardless, there's definitely going to be some beast snagger rule support in the codex, which is going to be awesome. One thing to touch on here, so it looks like they have the alternate weapon options. I don't know whether or not that's going to be an anti-tank spear or whether or not they're going to have like a ranged weapon if they can throw it. But really cool. Really keen to see it. Whether or not I'm curious to see how fast they're going to move, because I don't see a four-legged squigboard running like super fast, but definitely faster than Ork boys move now. And I can see them being tough as hell. Maybe not as like they won't have an armor save like Juggernauts do, but I see them being just as resilient wounds and toughness and attacks wise as like the Khorne Juggernauts. The guy in the right hand side of this looks like a pain boy and a mech at the same time. So it's got like the skull and crossbone. It's got the squig hanging off the side. So it's very much leaning towards the squig the beast snagger aesthetic that they're going for here. But I'm in discussions with a few other Ork players in the community. I'm coming to the term that I'm agreeing with. It's a pig doc, which is going to be someone who attends to the squig riders or the squig boars, and also boys, basically being the mid-range between a pain boy and a mech, but not as good as either of them in any respect. But there might be some cool rules coming out of that in terms of increased, like, so say the Mad Boys sub-clan stuff that you can do. They might have a similar thing to that, giving a random ability to a unit of squig boars, or a unit of boys gets whatever, just feeding them chemicals and drugs and just crazy stuff. But yeah, definitely looks cool. I'm keen to see what comes out of that as well. Then we have the big Squigboard Chariot. This thing looks nuts. I'm not sure what it's carrying on the back there, whether or not it's a boss or a weird boy or what it is. You can see it's obviously being pulled by one of the boars, the squig boars. It seems to be made almost entirely out of bone, but there's saw stuff here, so it's probably going to be scrap and bone. Then we have an old school cannon, some rocket off to the side here, and yeah, it's just going to be nuts. It's going to be so good. I'm very, very keen to see this. We're going to see the boar riders. There's guys riding squigs. So we have the boar squig boars here. These guys are two-legged. This guy right here. So that's going to be another unit of squig riding guys. They're probably going to be a little faster. This guy's carrying a gun. They might be a little bit more tooled up gun-wise than the other guys. The other guys might just be this big hulking, like, I'm just going to smash in and kill stuff. I'm really, really excited to see some of this squig stuff. So keen. The Cromlech and RTLW stuff, the base round squigs, that's all really cool. Really keen to see whether or not they jump straight onto this and release that as well. I know Gear Guts, Kyle Ricky from Gear Guts Mech Shop, is undoubtedly going to be getting into it at his earliest convenience. I'm sure he's already probably got that in the pipeline to get some of these out as well. And that's the images that I have of that video. The early boss, I definitely see this being, I almost certainly see this being a boss, which means we're going to be getting Mega Armored War Bosses back. That's insane. I'm super happy about that. It's also weird to see he's got a big chopper, and in one of the other shots, which I didn't end up grabbing it because it just had boys, there's another guy, another big Mega Armored guy. He's got the shooter, he's got the Mega Armor, he's also carrying a big chopper, which is going to be, again, leading towards some alternate weapon options in the Mega Knobs, which is going to be cool. And Squigs, man. Squigs everywhere. I'm so excited for Squigs. But that's everything we want to unpack out of that video. So now we're going to touch on my predictions and or wish list of things I want to see coming out in the new Codex. To break this down a little bit easier, I've brought up Wirepedia, and we're going to be I'll be going through some of the stuff and talking about it as we go down. Talking about the rules, talking about how I think they should be changed, what I want to see, and let's get into this part of it. So, the base rules. Here we go. Love it. Don't change a thing. I think it's great. Dakka. Also good. Don't change a thing. Speed mob works fine. Nothing wrong with it. The only thing out of the initial common rules is the mob rule. I liked it better when it was, if you have 10 or more guys, you're fearless. Yeah. I don't like the way mob rule works now. But one of the things to remember too, I always forget it, is the 6-inch bubble that is on mob rule. I always forget. Always. But yeah. Not that it doesn't work now. It's just not hugely relevant. It seems to not be important in a lot of games. You can agree with me, disagree with me if you like. Leave in the comments below, but that's just my opinion. The detachment rules going into clan cultures specifically. So a couple of things here, just before we go down there, sorry. The old specialist detachments from Vigilus specifically. I really, really liked the Dreadwar. I don't care if they don't bring a lot of that stuff back, but the souped up shock attack gun, I feel, needs to come back. And the ability for us to shoot twice with our big stuff also, I feel like, should be a thing that comes back to the front. Cult of Speed worked really good. These are just stratagems that we should probably just get relevant to the Evil Sons or Speed Freaks stuff. So yeah, just add it to the Codex. It doesn't need to be wiped off completely. We should just be adding these and folding them into the Codex. Going to the clan cultures, we have Bad Moons. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Bad Moons yet. The first thing I want to talk about is what's the standard that we need to get to, and what we need to change in order to get to that. So if people are looking at Orks, you don't play most of these clans just because all of the other ones, or a few of the other ones, are just better. If you're looking at competitive play, you're almost exclusively Death Skulls, because you get so much stuff for nothing. You get the 6+ invul, so it's an army-wide buff to increase your survivability. You get to reroll a single to hit, to wound, and damage roll whenever you shoot or fight, and your infantry gain Dis's Ours Zog off, which makes them obsec. If this is the standard, so as Orc players looking between other Orc players, we go, oh, they need to be debuffed. We need to nerf them, and all the other ones need to come up. I'm agreeing with a lot of people in saying that if you look at Marines versus Death Skulls, the Marines are still way better. So the Death Skulls don't need to go down. We just need to bring everything else back up to that kind of standard of being really good. And to compete with Death Skulls, as they are, there's a lot of changes that has to be made to a few of these, and not a huge amount of stuff that needs to be added to the rest of them. So if I'm looking at the top 3, personally, that I would pick if I was trying to play reasonably competitive, you got your Death Skulls at the top, your Evil Sons, and your Bad Moons is where I want to be sitting, with Goths being taken fairly specifically if you're running a Boy Swarm with Gaz Skull and Scar Boys. They do work, but there could be improvements. To bring Bad Moons up to the same kind of standard that I see the Death Skulls being at, I would want to, instead of having... So the reroll ones is good, but I'd want to be having, on 6s, you generate 2 dice to Dakka instead of 1. And I feel like that might bring them up to being, without doing too much more to it, because you don't want to make them you don't want to make them completely overpowered. But I feel like that could be enough of a buff to their shooting that they counteract, or they match up more in terms of the Death Skull stuff. Bad Moons are meant to be all about shooting. They're armed to the teeth. Yeah, I feel like that's probably the best thing that you could do, is just Daka +2 instead of the 1. So Daka 2 hits, or 2 extra shots instead of the 1. Looking at the Blood Axes, there's a couple of things here that I have written down. And so when you're looking at them, the benefit of cover, if you got rid of the minimum range, so at the moment, if you're at least 18 inches away, you get the benefit of cover, even if you're not in it, or not entirely in or on a terrain feature. So if you just got the benefit of cover all the time, in or on regardless, with a no minimum range, and I'd like the idea of having more. So the rest of their abilities, the being able to shoot and charge even if you fell back, that's really cool. Getting rid of the minimum range thing on the Blood Axes and adding in some more cunning stratagems, like more rule support, I feel like that could probably be enough to fix Blood Axes and make them useful. But yeah, the minimum range on, like the 18-inch minimum on the benefit of cover, it makes them, and the way that the board size is so small now, it makes them really, really unplayable. Death Skulls we've already touched on. The Evil Suns. I like the Evil Suns. I haven't got a problem with where they're at in terms of them getting buffed. They're all about speed. They can suffer no penalty to advancing and firing assault weapons. If you're speed freaks, you're getting 2 extra inches instead. There's not a lot that I would add to that, unless I was adding some other specific clan stuff that I'll touch on in a second. That's when we scroll down a little bit further, we'll talk more on that. The Freebooters. +1 to hit after something's died. I'm not sure if it's freebootery. It's the whole competitive streak thing. I always thought freebooters as being like the space pirates without that. They don't have to have the dorky hats and whatever else. They don't have to be a literal pirate, but they do loot stuff. They steal stuff from other people. They're all about getting the best stuff and just trying to, like, obviously the competitive streak thing comes into it. I don't like the 24-inch destroyer thing. Now I get a +1. I would just like to add 1 to their shooting. A lot of people bitch at me saying, or I've had people complain saying that isn't that more a Bad Moon thing? And it is, but the Bad Moons are getting the extra shots, so I feel like that the more shooting instead of more quality shooting, or at least the +1 to hit rolls on, give them more stuff with the freebooter keyword would be the only other way to do it, but don't have them locked into being specific, like the flash kits, not being able to get any other clan traits, which is really, really dumb. So one of the things that I definitely want to see is the flash kits getting fixed, and having a freebooter keyword, but not being locked into, like, have a freebooter subclan, like the speed mob or the snagger, the beast snaggers or whatever it is. So have freebooters fall under that kind of category instead of being locked into only being able to get their clan trait. But yeah, fix flash kits and either make their shooting better or overthrow it completely. Just find something that fits freebooters a bit better. I'm not sure what it is, except to just make them +1 without the I have to kill stuff. Because now we can't stack it anyway, so it's only ever going to be +1. Just give it to them automatically. It doesn't need to be much more than that. The Goffs, no mucking about. The Exploding Sixes, so Daka on 6s in combat. It's really good. The only way that you could improve that and probably make it a little better is give them default either. So just don't get too crazy here, but either give them +1 attack on the charge as Goffs. So they got the Exploding Sixes and they default +1 attack, which would make smaller units of Goffs also very killy, as instead of just having to, if I'm taking Goffs, I have to have 90 boys, they have to be 3 units of 30. Or AP on choppers. So neg 1 AP on choppers if you're in Goffs. It makes more killy, still combat, and better. I think just the exploding sixes by themselves, I don't think it's enough. If you're going to add something to it, it's either going to be the +1 attack on the charge or AP only choppers. I feel like that would do enough to fix it. Touching on the snake bites, they're obviously going to be getting some kind of overhaul with the amount of snakebite, not snakebite stuff coming out. But with the snake bites getting a 6+, on a 6, they don't lose a wound, so 6+ feel no pain. I don't see that sticking around. If it was a 5+ feel no pain, yeah, it could be worth it. Alternatively, I'm giving them the old school Furious Charge because they're set in their ways. They don't like the tech. They're not huge on the shooter stuff. Yes, they can do it. I'm not saying that they don't, but they prefer to get in and kill stuff old school. They're all about old school. I feel like the old Furious Charge, so +1 strength on charge, would probably suit snake bites. And again, it would make them reasonable in combat without getting exploding sixes. They're not going to be in the same category as Goths. But then the other thing that I'd go around, so if you give them the 5+ feel no pain and the +1 to strength on charge, they'd probably be set. The other flex slot that I had on that was giving them a built-in Mad Boys ability, or something similar to it. So random generator of stats buff. So on a D6 result of whatever, this unit has blah. This unit has +1 strength. This unit has an extra attack. Fluffy. Yeah. Snake bites. Yeah, it's old school, and I like random. They don't all have to be ridiculously cool. But that would definitely line up a lot closer to the standard that the Death Skulls is. The pendulum that the Death Skulls is sitting at is it's pretty high up there. So they've got to be pretty outrageous add-ons to these original clans before they actually start catching up. The specialist mobs, now because these are in the Psychic Awakening thing, and I don't see that being gotten rid of. I feel like all this stuff, sadly, I feel like most of this stuff is going to stay the way that it is. But I would have liked these sub-clans being folded into the other clans. So whether or not you could just pick any one of these and have it in addition to your normal clan. I feel like that would be a better way of doing it, instead of just going, okay, we're only Flyboys, okay, we're Feral Orks and that's it. Or this is my Grot mobs. The Grot mobs make sense. I really like Grot mobs. Stuff like Boom Boys. If that was in a Bad Moons thing, I feel like stacking Bad Moons and Boom Boys makes sense. The Tin Heads, stacking that with something else makes sense. Stacking it with the Evil Sons, making them faster. Stacking it with the Goths, stacking it with the Death Skulls. Any one of these is infinite. Standalone, they're okay. Some of them are a lot better than others, but standalone, they're okay. If they folded them into the other clans, I feel like they would be a lot better and actually worth doing. As it stands, they're a lot of fun, but they don't see competitive play, except for the Cheeky Zoggers Grot mob, because the Gretchen needed something. Going into the next codex, I do hope to see a lot more Grot relevant stuff. Alternatively, give them clan traits. Allow them to get the reroll ones, get the 6+, exploding sixes. Just give it all to them. They need support. They're 5 points each now, so they definitely need your support, guys. Come on, GW. Stratagems. Just give us more. Space Marines have 1 billion stratagems. I'm not going to touch on anything specifically. A lot of them are really cool. A lot of them are shit. Just give us more. We just need more stratagems that are going to be useful going into what is going to be a crazy 9th edition after all the codexes finally get re-released. Power of the War, Discipline. You could add powers to it. hopefully we do see some cool new stuff. Whether or not they go completely off into a Gork and Mork tree, I'd like to see that. But if you were just changing the stuff that we have, looking at Edbanger, I want it to be more like... So Edbanger at the moment is you manifest it on an 8+, you roll the d6, and then compare it to the toughness. If it's higher, they're slain. No, it's not reliable enough to take. So, and a lot of the powers are the same. They're not reliable. Being able to almost guarantee that something useful is going to happen is why you take psychic powers normally anyway. And if you're looking at Tyranids, Imperial Guard, any of the Space Marines, all of these psychic powers that are actually good, or again, a lot of them are shit, but more of them than we have are really good. So instead of being the on a d6 result compared to the toughness, I want it to be more like a smasher gun and roll the 2d6. 2d6 on an Edbanger makes it useful. Just, that's all you need to do. Make it a smasher gun, 2d6. On the Warpath, that's good enough. I really like Warpath. The jump, solid. Leave it the way that it is. Fists of Gork isn't bad, but barely sees play. Yeah, I'm not sure what you do to fix it or get something else, but it doesn't seem as good as the other stuff that it seems to be like auto includes. The only other way that you might start seeing people running Fists of Gork is if we can have the Weird Boys casting more powers. So a named character Weird Boy with multiple casts, like 3 powers instead of 2 with a Warp Head. That's when you'd start to see some more flex stuff into stuff like Fist of Gork and things like that. But otherwise, it's just, there's other stuff here that's better. And not a lot of other stuff, but there's just other stuff here that's better. The Crunch, on a 6-up, you take a mortal wound, or they take a mortal wound. Anything within 18, so it's select an enemy unit within 18 inches of him, and then roll a d6 for each model in the unit, and on a 6, they suffer 1 mortal wound. That's only really useful against the larger squads, but if it was a 4-up or a 5-up, then it would really start being good. Make it an outrageous cast. Make it a 9 or 10 to cast it. I don't care. But make it worth doing, because at the moment it's subpar. It's not really fantastic. Roar of Mork. In the 6th slot is neg 1 to leadership to something within 18. Isn't great. I'd also like to see them tack on essentially Psychic Shriek to Roar of Mork, or something very similar. So just neg 1 to the leadership and then roll a leadership test. If they fail, you get the idea. Throw a Shriek at them. Roar of Mork, Psychic Shriek. It could be done. I feel like that would definitely be an easy one to translate over. But as it is, Roar of Mork, not seen play because it's just terrible. The faction-specific psychic powers, I think they're really good. If anything, I'd just add to them. And with the Warlord traits, I'd probably do the same thing. Just add to them. Tweak some of them maybe, but yeah, just adding to them. The Shiny Gubbins. Space Marines have so many more useful tools than we have, and a lot of the tools that we have are pretty much useless. I'd like to see some improvements made that make them comparable to the better stuff that we have. So Headwhopper's Kill Chopper, no one really uses it because a Warboss with the Killer Claw is just better. With the touching back on the Warlord trait too, I think we're one of the few armies in 40k that can't take multiple Warlord traits. So if we could take multiple Warlord traits, that's when we could start having a Warboss on a Warbike with Brutal and Cunning, and a Big Mech with Cunning but Brutal. The amount of value we would get out of that would be insane. I'm not saying it's going to make us overpowered. I'm just saying it's going to improve the army that much more. We should be able to get at least 2 Warlord traits on our Warlords or fucking HQ options. Definitely. Fixer Up is good. Headwhopper is good, but needs to be improved. Dead Shiny Shooter. Make it better. Yeah, it's 12 shots, but it's not really doing anything else. A lot of these are just subpar options. That's the problem. We need better options that are going to compete with what we have. Red Roller, awesome. Some of these custom jobs, really, really good. Add to them. Give us more custom jobs. Give us more spice. The guns and war gear, burners need to go up to 12 inches. That's just a given. Burners, scorchers, up to 12 inches. I'd like to see big shooters either go at neg 1 AP or damage 2, and then they start being worth it. Don't change the points. Leave the points the same, but definitely give them a buff. I just feel like that would be greatly improved. Grotzukas, before they're going to be useful, would be heavy 2d6 instead of d3s. Your cannons, rockets, neg 3 would be infinitely better than neg 2. Neg 3, damage 3 for rockets would make them really, really good. With the amount of +1 saves or just invulnerable saves everywhere that just don't give a shit about all of our rockets and stuff, rockets could just be that much better, and it wouldn't. It's not going to break the bank. It's really not going to do that much. The combat weapons, spinning blades need more strength, an actual AP, maybe extra damage. The choppers, maybe give them a increase to chopper AP. Like, I don't even care if it's just on knobs. So, like, knobs might even have their own bracket of weaponry. So, like, knob choppers, knob sluggers, make them strength 5 on their sluggers. Make them neg 1 AP on their choppers. Just something to make knobs, again, not changing the points. The points are already too much. We need to be bringing these things up to the standard that you're holding them, which is already way too high. Bring back some of the funky options, like big bombs and stuff on Dakka jets and... not Dakka jets, on the Deathcopters, stuff like that. Yeah, there's a few things. This a lot to unload. The only other thing I'd like to touch on is the mech boys. I feel like mech boys, just as a rule, anything with mech keyword should be shooting on a 4-up. You can argue with me all you like, but that's just the way that I feel. They should be shooting on a 4-up. That would make the Spanner boys in the looter squads actually worth taking their custom mega cannons or custom mega blasters. Them hitting on a 4 makes them that much more reliable. Yeah, it's just adding more spice. Shock attack gun hitting on a 4, again, that much more reliable. Yeah, there is a lot of things that they could do to improve the way that orcs work now. And hopefully, I am hopeful that in the coming codex, they are going to improve a great deal. But yeah, I've touched on things that I'd do. Let me know in the comments what you guys would do to fix. What problems do you think they've got now? What fixes do you have for those problems? Leave it all in the comments. Do you agree with my clan trait buffs? Do they need to come up to the same standard that Death Skulls is? I don't know. Let me know. If you liked the video, let me know in the comments. If you don't like the video, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Again, if you want to throw some shrapnel at me on Patreon and or buy me a coffee, you can do that. I'll leave the links in the description below. If you're getting into playing TTS 40k, you definitely want to be starting to follow the channel. I'm going to be doing more TTS stuff going into the near future. I have been organising a TTS league through the 40k Ork community on the Discord. Again, I'll leave links in the description below. I've been the Pale Ork. This has been a sit and talk. We've been going way longer than I thought I was going to. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.